Osiris.
What is going on, y'all? It's Karina Reichman. I am freshly back from Marco Tour, and I'm delighted to see my dear pal once again. His name is Isaac Sloan. I call him iBoogie, a.k.a. iBoogs. iBoogs, how you doing, dude?
Karina, welcome home.
Thanks, man.
How are you? We haven't even caught up on your tour. I'm glad we have the podcast so we can talk to each other.
Thank God we have the podcast so we can talk to each other. It's great. I think you know. I always talk about it on the podcast and in general. It's the transition that's always, home life to tour life to tour life to home life. That's the crazy part, right? So in those little few days in between where you're just kind of like, whoa, what? On both ends, you know what I mean? So like now I've been home for like 2 days or something, and I'm like adjusted pretty well, you know what I mean? But the first, I had to sleep for like 14 hours. That was good. And it's when it all, you no longer have a regimented day the way you do on tour, right? Because like that's the whole thing. You like go on tour, your day is regimented, and then you come back and it's not, and you have to like set shit up for it to be, as opposed to just going like trudging along with the fucking team and the train and whatnot, you know what I mean? So that's a difficult part of it for me, for sure. But the tour itself was fucking great. And we did 9 shows in 9 days, something most people would say, you're a lunatic. I would agree, but also, I don't know, it felt really, by the way, this is Marco Benevento tour. I didn't play 9 shows in 9 days with my band, never have, but it was a total blast. The crowds were ravenous. Even on Sundays and Mondays and Tuesdays, we were like, wow, holy shit, like, talk about a nice boost, and like everybody was like, morale was super high. We had the pleasure of having Punkadelic open for us, which is Mike Dillon's new band featuring Nikki Glaspie on the drums and Brian Haas of the Jacob Fred Jazz Odyssey on the keys. And we are now bonded by blood, brothers and sisters for life. And they're absolutely incredible, and just like, to see people who are so good at their instrument every night, and just like, to me, like, I'd really be hard pressed to name you a drummer other than Nikki Glaspie who I feel like I would watch her just play drums with nothing for hours. It just felt like a clinic. And then on the last night, which was Madison, Wisconsin, we did full-on band-on-band, double drums, everybody up on stage at the same time, which was absolutely crazy and amazing.
So I think some people know this, but others might not.
Yeah.
Chris Corsico, who is the drummer in your band, has recently been on the road with Marco in the drum position.
Correct.
What was this like for Chris Corsico to get to play with probably the greatest drummer living?
Well, it's pretty amazing because Chris definitely Chris for the last little while has been just like, we're so admirative of Nikki, he and I both, and to the point where and she's just so cool. That's the other thing. You're just like, damn, you're so like effortlessly cool and just come off like such a fucking cool person who's so good. You're just like, man, like, wow, what is going on, But for him, a student of music and life and somebody who really, really brings his practice pad everywhere and is so committed to the craft and getting better and reads, Kenny Warner's books and, just is super dialed into all that. He now is like super good friends with her and like to do, the drum off at the end, like, Butch Trucks and J-Mo style or whatever, was just like, I was like tearing up watching it because it was just like, my boy is so out there. Chris also, he's one of my dearest friends. He now is my we're like wedded at this point because we travel everywhere together and do everything. And he, when he first joined my band, was very like self-critical of his playing in a big way and like almost a debilitating way. And I'd like to say that between me and now Marco Benevento, we've really beaten that out of him. And he is just like, he might feel it on the inside, but on the outside, he is just fucking absolutely raging it, and it's just so cool to see,
No, I agree. He is definitely soaring in a lot of different ways. I remember watching with you videos from your band last summer, and we were just like, wait, roll that back. What is Chris doing there? He is so out here.
He's so dialed. He's so, like, it's amazing. It's amazing. And to see him go so deeply into the craft and play with people he respects so much and just completely hold his own and just, like, you know, it's amazing. It's so fucking great because this is, you know, my friend from NYU who I've now brought into this fold with Marco and all this stuff. And now, you know, it's just so cool for me. So Chris is killing it. Nikki, Mike Dillon, Brian Haas, legends. Thank you if you came out to this tour of the Midwest. That was absolutely sick. And here I am, Isaac. It's my own personal days between, basically, because, you know, you get back like late on Sunday night, and then the following Monday I leave, meaning next Monday, this Monday. In just a few days, basically, I leave for my band's tour supporting Guster. So it's just like, you know, I have about 100,000 things I need to do while I'm home that you just want to get them all done, both like business-wise and creatively. You know what I mean? I'm just like trying to pack in so much into so few days. And also see me loved ones and you and like everybody, like, you know, so I'm just like...
I'm offended that I'm excluded from the loved ones.
Oh, you are the loved ones. You are the loved ones. And actually, if I open up loved ones in my own personal dictionary, it's you.
Oh,
like, you're there,
you.
baby. Yeah. Oh, 100%. It's like literally you, my mom, my dad, my boyfriend, my friends, you. Anyway. So yeah, anyway, I'm squeezing it all into a short amount of time is all I'm saying. And it's going great so far. And I'm just so glad we could shoot the shit and talk shop.
Absolutely. You know, speaking of Marco, he announced the second installment of the Follow the Arrow Festival today. That's going to take place on Saturday, June 17th at the Arrowwood Farms in Accord, New York.
Yes.
Which I've just coincidentally been to.
Is that right?
Yeah, just to hang out.
Just like that spot?
Yes, because
it's
like there's
lovely.
like a brewery and like some snacks.
There's like a pizza place.
Yeah, I had some pizza.
Nice, dude.
But
Yeah.
this is a cool lineup. It has Marco obviously headlining, Rubble Bucket, who you've played some shows with, Marco.
Certainly.
And the Barr Brothers. This is kind of a interesting appearance. Brad and Andrew Barr.
Correct.
Have they been touring as the Barr Brothers unit?
Not much. And, you know, they played last year's festival as the Slip, which was a very another sort of rare occurrence, you know. But they're coming back. Our fellas from Montreal, they're coming, you know, south of the border to play this show, which is so great. And those guys are so amazing and so cool. And yeah, Rubble Bucket, that's a big sort of, you know, we're huge fans. And of course, Cal from Rubble Bucket, her voice is heavily featured on a few Marco Benevento songs that are kind of a bunch of the big ones, including Limbs of a Pine and This Is How It Goes, and, you know, a few from that Tiger Face record, among others. And she's, you know, honestly, I am freaking out because there's a Lexus commercial on television now that airs every 5 seconds, and it features a Rubble Bucket song. And I remember, like, I was like, whoa, run that back. Oh, and turned out I didn't need to run it back at all because it airs every 5 minutes. So you love to see that with a band that's been doing it for actually quite a fucking minute and with great success, and I'm a big fan. So that'll be very cool to see. Very cool. And Scott Metzger solo.
And Scott Metzger and Benevento Family Band, and more to be announced.
Yeah, and, you know, more to be announced. You never know who might be in that second wave. TBD.
Maybe some loved ones.
Maybe. I can't say anything because I know. Yeah, looking forward to that. It was beautiful last year. It was the inaugural Follow the Arrow last year. And it was just I think I referred to it as getting a Hudson Valley hug, right?
Yeah, there's a whole episode of this podcast with Marco on it called Hudson Valley Hug.
Exactly. And we went, that was the night, you know, we didn't sleep, went from Bonnaroo to the Hudson Valley Hug directly with the 5 a.m. flight out of Nashville directly to Follow the Arrow. So I have very fond and fuzzy and blurry memories of that day, and they were really spectacular though. And yeah, we're really looking forward to that. And that's not the only festival that got announced today, Isaac. We also have the Newport Jazz lineup, eh?
Also featuring Scott Metzger and Marco Benevento in Joe Russo's Almost Dead. This festival takes place from August 4th through the 6th. It is a monumental music festival for North America.
Amen.
It is the start of quite a lot of things, including Newport Folk Festival as well as the New Orleans Jazz Festival. And it takes place in Fort Adams State Park in Newport, Rhode Island. And this is a killer lineup.
Killer. I'm observing it, and I'm actually like, wow. This also, Joe Russo's Almost Dead gets the top line billing on the Friday, and it's J-Rad featuring Kamasi Washington is the billing, which is very exciting and very cool, I would say.
We love Kamasi Washington.
100%. And then the next line of the billing is Kamasi Washington.
Great.
So
love
that's
him.
pretty sick.
That is very sick.
And then of course we have, not of course actually, this is, a rare, I would say at this point, Soul Live appearance.
Yep.
You don't see Soul Live playing much anymore, which is a shame because we love Soul Live and they were the soundtrack to many, many, many years of my life there in high school and beyond. And it's cool to see the Evans brothers and Krasno strap on their shoes yet again. It's a beautiful thing.
They will be at the Blue Note.
Yes.
For a residency earlier in the summer.
Also very exciting. Very exciting. We have John Batiste, Thundercat, Big Gigantic does jazz, which is very, very cool. Last year, the Benevento Russo played, acoustic, quote unquote. And I feel like that has sort of similar energy in the sense of like two dudes who usually play with, crazy amounts of electronics and samples and whatnot, doing something different. And I think that's really cool that this festival fosters things like that. And then, of course, we would be remiss not to mention the fact that His Majesty Herbie motherfucking Hancock is headlining the Sunday. Bam, baby. You go anywhere Herbie's playing. I might have to go. Am I busy? I don't know. Anyway, this is good.
Fishes at the Garden.
Oh, well.
Yes, and Samara Joy is playing this. She
Yes.
just is kind of coming off hot with the Grammys, Best New Artist.
Very cool.
Karina, she has some fire music.
Does she?
I love her music.
I'm ready to listen to her music. Samara Joy.
She has a week at Village Vanguard coming up in April. Every set is sold out
Holy
in
shit.
advance. She's going to do Jazz at Lincoln Center next year.
Wow.
She is definitely out here. She is wonderful. Diana Krall, I don't know her music at all. I have to study up on Diana Krall.
I have a lot of studying up to do here, and also a lot of old favorites.
Totally.
It's great. It's a beautiful thing, and that's
it's
what a
very
good
cool.
festival should do. It should pander to things you already like and open you up to things you've never heard before. So, this looks really great, Isaac. What the hell, Newport Jazz Festival? Let's go, baby. Let's go. So that's all very exciting, and of course, this is the more we'd be remiss not to mention, but it was. This news shook the fabric of our small and tightly knit community last week basically, and it's hard to even know how to say any of this, but Chuck Morris, who's the percussionist in the band Lotus, and his son Charlie were on a spring break trip and kayaking last Thursday and have yet to return. And by that, Lotus basically posted yesterday that they've changed this from, a search and rescue mission to a recovery mission, and it's unfathomable what kind of pain that brings to so many, myself included, their families, the band, the millions, thousands, whatever it might be, but of people, whose music he touched and who knew him personally. I knew him personally. He's such a wonderful dude. I still have a sliver of hope that he'll turn up. It's not a big one. But it's devastating. It's absolutely devastating. And there's now a GoFundMe set up for his, wife and daughter, to shoulder sort of immediate costs in life. It's just nothing could be more devastating than you're on spring break vacation with your family and your son and husband don't return. It's absolutely unfathomable. And it's really, it's one of those things where you're seeing so many people from the jam scene and beyond just kind of coming together and singing their praises for Chuck and hoping beyond hope that he'll turn up and that Charlie will turn up. But it's devastating. There's not much more to say.
Yeah, I don't have anything I could really add to that. It's, our heart goes out to all involved in Lotus, and, he is an essential part of that band and also a human being.
Yeah.
And so this is really just very rattling news.
Rattling. It is definitely shaken the core of so many of our hearts, and our hearts here at Inappropriate Happiness go right out to his family, his band, everyone who knew him, and I wish peace for all involved because it's fucked up beyond belief. On that note, Isaac, we'd like to thank RJB for putting us on. Thank you, RJ. RJ almost came to my show in Philadelphia the other day, but he didn't. But it's totally cool, RJ. I love you more than words can tell, regardless. And he was very busy putting together the Osiris, Tom Marshall and RJ interviewing Arevalo at Garcia's at the Cap during the very monumental 5-night Goose Cap run, which you were at 4 out of 5.
Yep.
Which is a great soul coughing song for those of you who don't know. And Isaac, 4 out of 5 ain't bad, baby.
No. I mean, a lot of people said, isn't 1 enough?
Oh, yeah.
And my answer to that is definitely. 1 is more. It's plenty.
It's plenty.
It's more than enough. But yes, I did venture out to 4 of the 5 nights of Goose and really had a blast. I mean, they played pretty much their entire catalog, and it was amazing to hear how these songs have developed, some new material, and each show just felt like a progression from the next. It was really triumphant. So congrats to those fellas. They're about to head out on tour. Every show is streaming if you have a Nug subscription. Live video and audio, and they also announced some fall dates, so they are just
can't stop, won't stop with these
blazing
guys.
through it.
So much material played during those Cap shows, like just so much, including debuts, including covers, including original, like all just crazy. I nothing but respect.
Well, I actually have a question for you. I've been thinking a lot about this after the run. It seemed as though some of the songs that they've committed to studio album really took on a new life as a result of being captured on an album. And, the album thing is kind of underplayed in terms of a lot of jam bands and bands that emphasize the live show.
Sure.
But there was something that having these songs set to record really did for the band and for the audience. And it was just a very noticeable, not in terms of quality. I mean, they played all the songs great, but the songs that do appear on studio album really had a different life to them.
That's really cool. I mean, from day one, I'm a fan of recording music properly. And when I say properly, that means stupid. That's a stupid way of putting it. But, that means, the intention behind capturing the sounds in a studio setting or whatever it might be, a bedroom setting, a barn, it doesn't matter. But like the actual act of sitting there and using, Pro Tools as a canvas and doing it intentionally and piece by piece and sometimes a live take or whatever it might be. But that always to me is important, even as somebody who loves the sort of intangible, shooting darts and see what sticks, kind of element of improvisational music, and for me, it always, even, with Fish, with the Grateful Dead, I always am listening to the studio stuff as well as the other stuff. But honestly, I think more than most jam band fans, I have a penchant for the recorded studio stuff. And I think it only adds to, your ability to kind of extrapolate on those ideas and those sort of colors that you put in the studio in the live setting, because you already have a framework that was laid out sort of intentionally or tried to be intentional, at least, you know what I mean? And I think it's a really interesting thing that you bring up. That's cool. That's really cool that those tunes sort of had a different sort of feel than the ones that are just not recorded, right? It's interesting. We salute these guys. We are thrilled that their entire tour is sold out. I think it's incredible. Sold out immediately, which is wild. And let's go, man. Let's fucking go. I feel like I had another quip, but I forget what it is. And more importantly, Isaac, we're going to put a bow on this thing. So thank you, everyone, for listening. Oh, that's what it was. Then my quip was, it's not even a quip, but, RJB last week, I told him, I was like, yo, I am in the throes of 9 shows in 9 days. In a van, by the way. Like, this is no tour bus experience. It doesn't even matter, but, like, it kind of does. Anyway, doing a van tour night, and I was just like, and Isaac and I were trying to do the podcast last week. We were like, how about this time? What about this time? I'm like, oh, shit, that's sound check. Oh, shit. I'm dry. Like, it all was hard to time out. You know what I mean? And I told RJ, and he was just so like, dude, are you kidding? Take the week off. My God. It's insane. 9 what? Anyway, so it was very sweet of him, and thank you, RJ. That's my last bit.
We also appreciate the listeners who hold us to attempting to do it every week.
There's definitely somebody who in the Karina Reich fam Facebook group, which I peruse from time to time, who, laments the fact when I miss a week, and it's always my fault. Isaac's always good to go. It's always my fault. It's like Inappropriate Happiness has gone 0 weeks without missing, without
missing a week.
A week. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. My guy. And I appreciate that, because that's, it just makes us, more hungry to get him out to you week by week, man. So may this be the beginning of a great streak, and may this be the beginning or end of a great week for you, our fellow listeners. I love you very much. Isaac does too. And we will hopefully see you next week while I am in the throes of Guster Tour. Bye-bye. By the way, those shows are almost all sold out, the ones I'm doing. So if you want to come, buy your tickets. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Never learned to camp, can't even pitch a tent. I've been jumping turnstiles, hailing taxis with intent. Do you need directions? I bet it's not where you from.
Osiris.